Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to watch this review, click like and subscribe, and if you don't, the entity will rule the world. This YouTube video will destruct whatever device you're holding in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. All right. I'm John Stark, MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. The Final Reckoning. We're here. And I did not watch this in theaters. I love people who just keep saying they watch movies in theaters, and it's like, do you realize what that actually means for some people? It means that the accessibility has to be there for us, which is not always. And then it means the devices actually have to work, which means it doesn't always. So I'm open to having a conversation with these people who keep saying watch movies on the big screen, because we have to create a level of consistency. And I would love for them to champion audio description across all films, but that ain't the case. So I watched this at home. I just did. And I'm actually not ashamed of it, because this audio description is We'll get to that. This is The Final Reckoning. It's, I saw all but the last two, Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning, in theaters, so I did a pretty good job with the franchise. Tom. I don't think Tom listens to me, but Tom, or any Tom. Your name might be Tom. I don't know. I don't know what your name is. Or do I? So Tom Cruise is back, along with a bunch of other regular faces to the franchise, like Ving Rhames, who's been here the whole time, basically. Simon Pegg. Hayley Atwell, who we just got in the last movie, but we're going to act like she's been here for a long time. Henry Czerny, who reaches all the way back to the first film. He's here as well. Angela Bassett's been in at least more than one Mission Impossible movie. I think Shea Wiggum was in the last movie too, so I should give his character props. And of course, the Entity was in the last film too, so give it up for the AI device. The Entity, for making it into 2 films. What? No, Palm Clementif is here. A whole bunch of new people too. I think new anyway, because I don't remember them being in another movie, but like Nick Offerman's here. We got Cary Elwes, who I think has been in a movie before. And who else? Katie O'Brien is in this cast. God, there's a lot of people. I was looking at the cast, I was like, Jesus. Man, everybody came out for this. So, I'm sure those are at least the relevant people. I don't know, man. I guess they could have pulled out more. Like, that would have been more fun for them to just continue to just clown car people out from previous films and be like, Anthony Hopkins, I thought your character died. No, I've been in hiding. Let me give you pertinent knowledge. Or for them to do face swaps, you know, how they do those masks and then mask into characters who are no longer alive in the series. That would have been fun. But Emilio Estevez, the elevator didn't crush me. I'm still alive. I've been here. They're the Entity, that's what they're worried about. So, it's this thing, right? That it's kind of goofy. It's an AI device that's gone rogue, and only one person can stop it, and that one person is Ethan Hunt. And they kind of address how ridiculous that is. Like, they have like roundtable discussions in this film about like, really, this guy? This is the fate of the world is in the hands of this guy. And how many times the fate of the world, you know, all the different things that he's done before, and the choices that he's made, you know, just all these like rogue decisions that he's had to make in the past. Also would have felt like a great time to bring back in Jeremy Renner. I don't, did we kill his character off? I know he like went on a different mission or something at some point, but it feels like if we're gonna do Final Reckoning, can Brandt come back? Like, did he die? I can't even remember who's alive and dead in this franchise. But I wanted, since they kept clown carring people out of this, I wanted everybody back. I was just like, if you're gonna do it, do it well. Like, have everybody just suddenly show up and be like, I'm here. Aren't you dead? No, that was a fake. I faked you out, got you. I don't know. There's a ton of exposition in this movie. It's not my favorite Mission Impossible movie. I struggled with this because I was like, what am I going to do with this review? So some of it is really cool. There's some really cool action sequences here, like there are in most Mission Impossible movies. I don't know that they necessarily raise the stakes in terms of action, like dangling off the side of a building, or the plane thing that he did where he was actually like hanging on the side of the plane. I don't know what practically he did here, because that's always been the thing with Tom, is that if you see him doing something, he's probably doing it. Do I think he swam to the bottom of the ocean and got into a submarine that they put in the bottom of the ocean? No, I don't. Do I? do I'm fairly certain that the prop plane sequence too, which is also excellent, is also not quite what, like, as we see it. So I think the stunts in this film, the big ones, are ones where he's not really doing it because, or they would have had to digitally edit out somebody flying the plane for him. You know what I'm saying? While he was doing those stunts. I don't know. It's just, his stunts are kind of odd and harder for him to pull off in this as an individual. They're harder for Ethan to pull off. I mean, it was harder for me to be like, oh my, how's he alive? Jesus. But he is. And it's the final countdown. So it's the final countdown. So anything can happen, right? Probably means not great things for Esai Morales' character. I mean, not trying to spoil things here, but there's no need to extend a villain into so the fact that he's already been in 2 movies, I mean, I didn't really think Esai Morales was gonna, you know, go anywhere. So, but he's back to protect the entity at all costs. So the entity has basically spread everywhere in this movie. There's like a cult following. It's End of Days. It owns and operates everything. It has most of the nuclear arsenals, but not all of them when we start the movie. But like as the movie progresses, it slowly starts to get all the arsenals, and then it starts aiming them at each other. And of course, like the final crux of the movie is like the countdown of, you know, like all of the nukes across the world are about to launch, but will Ethan stop it? And a countdown where it's like, oh God, we have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, thank God he did it. Like, it's a little cheesy. Man, that was some timing there, Ethan. One more second and like every nuke on the planet was about to be launched. That's a little bit of a spoiler, but it's just, I think the hubris has not escaped them this time. I think for the first time, Tom and Christopher McQuarrie, who's directing this, have experienced a little bit of, our shit is awesome and we've made awesome shit and we will make awesome shit. We'll continue to do it and you're gonna like it. And it's like, I think perhaps methinks thou doth protest too much. It's oddly overly dramatic at times, and very sort of somber. There's one character that doesn't make it, and we keep sort of revisiting that character through flashbacks, through these scenes where supposedly they gave advice and we just didn't see it. So that way that character can sort of be throughout the whole movie. It's the best way I can say it without telling you who it is or what it's for. So I don't know, like, what was even the point? Like, the point of killing somebody off is that you don't have access to their knowledge, but we keep revisiting it. There's a lot of dialogue in this. There's just a lot. I felt like we started off the movie and he's being told to come in by the President of the United States, who's Angela Bassett. That's like basically the beginning of the film. And give the key to the president that he has, the key that he took at the end of the last movie. If you haven't seen Dead Reckoning, you will be very confused. You can actually like just have a conceptual understanding of the other Mission Impossible films and not necessarily have seen them, but you have to have seen Dead Reckoning, because this was originally supposed to be Dead Reckoning Part 2, and then the Part 1, Part 2 thing wasn't working out for them, so they killed it, and now this is the final Reckoning. So this was actually meant to be the second part of a film. You have to see Dead Reckoning. The other films, it would help, because they nod to a lot of things that have happened in other films. Not all of them. I didn't feel a lot of heavy nods. There's definitely Esai nods to Mission Impossible 3. He nods to what Philip Seymour Hoffman was doing in that, and what the Rabbit's Foot was, and how that ties into this. So probably more so than anything else. And then they just kind of read off things that happen in other movies sometimes, but yeah, you'll be fine as long as you've seen Dead Reckoning. So he ends up he gets with his team, and basically they end up realizing that in order to stop the entity, they have to get to the sub to the bottom of the ocean. That's at the bottom of the ocean. And kind of he's worried that maybe the entity's manipulating him, or Esai's character, I forget his name, Michael or something like that, is manipulating him. But he knows he's going to make a personal choice to save the world. That is something that nobody else would do, because there is like a negative effect to how he saves the world, but also saving the world, right? So that's what he's going to do. It's not as predictable as the entity is hoping. So, like, if there was like another Mission Impossible after this, there would be like Mission Impossible, like, what do we do now? So Mission Impossible Reconstruction. Yeah, he ends up needing to get on this boat. It takes forever for them to talk about it. You think I'm talking about it for a long time. It's like a my God amount of time, because he has to go talk to the president and like all these people at the White House, who I guess allows himself to be captured, and then the president sends him off, and then he goes and talks to this woman who's got a boat, and then her team, and then they keep explaining to him this thing, but at the same time his team is still talking about like what he needs to do to explain. They explain this in like so much detail. It's like, I think Tom Cruise thinks we're all stupid now. I think he thinks that COVID made everybody stupid, and that's why we didn't watch Dead Reckoning. So he has to talk to us like we're slow, like we're really just can't follow this. So he's like, no, give them more exposition, and then they'll be able to follow it. The problem is Dead Reckoning didn't have enough exposition, so Final Reckoning has to have more exposition. We need more dialogue. They need to understand how impossible these stunts are. It's like the film is screaming at you like, don't you understand how deadly this mission is? Do you understand how improbable it is that this man would get through this safely. So he has to swim to the bottom of the ocean. And then, of course, he has to come back up. And then they address all that. They come up with, like, well, what about the bends? What about the chest, the air rushing? And how does he keep from... They address all that. They do. In the exposition leading up to it. I think there was kind of a first act of the movie where we sort of get the gang back together. And then they also team up with Palm and Tarzan. And I know they have character Paris and Degas. Those are character names. They get those two on board, so they become part of the good guys. And so like there's that whole like getting the gang together thing, and then basically there's I think it's like an hour lead up to him actually getting into the sub. It feels like it. It feels like it's forever. And then there's the sub mission, and we keep cutting back and forth to also what his team is doing, because they have to relay to him these really specific coordinates. And then there's also like Tremmell Tillman plays the captain of this submarine that has to be in this exact position at this exact time and let him out. And there's there's a Russian sub, and they're going to start like World War III. So they're like doing these like weird war game things. And then, of course, when Tom is floating in the water, he has to avoid being hit by a submarine. So it's the longest, most time-consuming stunt in both the actual stunt itself and how much the film talks about it that I think has ever been in the franchise. And it's not even the most impressive stunt. Like, before, they've just kind of insinuated what the stunt will be, and then they just do it, and then the stunt itself is impressive. Here, they have to make sure that you understand this shit is crazy. This is insane. What we're doing now is the most insane thing we've ever done. I don't know. So I found myself with Final Reckoning thinking, my God, this film is long. It's almost 3 hours, and it does not need to be. I want the intelligent person version of this movie where it doesn't need to explain itself to me, and we don't need like an hour of exposition. Like, that's the film that I want. I want the film that comes in at about 2:15. That's I think it's the sweet spot. I literally think there's at least a half hour of nonsense in this movie, of them just talking back and forth to each other and explaining what's happening and having to explain everything to the audience. It is the most explanatory movie of the year. You will not see a movie with more exposition this year. I'm positive. I don't think I've seen this much exposition written into a movie since like The Eternals, where they were like, oh my God, so we have to explain The Eternals to people now and how they fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the same film as having to also give them a plot and something to do. Fuck. So, yeah, this film is weighed down by exposition. Performances, Tom's solid in it. I mean, he's always been. I love him as Ethan. That's the whole thing, is that he has elevated this franchise. I feel like probably somewhere down the line, we're going to reboot this. I'm going to be an old man, and there's going to be some young actor who's not even alive yet, or is alive and is like 10 right now. When some 10-year-old what's the 10-year-old child actor that's hot, right? Who we got? Mason Thames. He's not 10. Is Mason Thames going to be in this franchise in like 30 years? Maybe. I don't know. Benjamin Evan Ainsworth after he does Zelda. So, yeah, they'll probably bring him back. Maybe even in like 20 years, when Tom is old enough to be the grizzled head of, who sits behind the desk to pass it off to the new generation. But I don't think it'll be as interesting, because Tom Cruise is so committed to actually doing the work to do the stunts. He's one of those actors like Keanu Reeves that gets up in there and he's not really concerned with his own safety. He's concerned with making sure that this shit looks cool and looks real. And I gotta applaud him for that. Like, we societally have made fun of Tom Cruise in the past for various reasons, some valid. But the truth is that this man is committed to the art of cinema, to the actual, like, construction of it, making sure that what we're getting is peak entertainment and not just crap. He doesn't try to just flood crap out into the marketplace. So, I mean, he has. I don't like all of his films, I'm not going to say that. But especially once he gained power in Hollywood and got away from, like, the early part of his career where he's still trying to, like, get that name for himself. Once he had the name for himself, once he was considered A-list, he's just trying to knock out consistently well-made movies. So here, I mean, you feel that with that film. It's just, he also, I think, thinks everybody got stupid, and he has to explain it to them, and that's why Dead Reckoning made less money at the box office than the previous entry, is that we couldn't understand it or something, so he has to explain this to us. I feel like Final Reckoning wouldn't be, or wasn't intended to be this long, and then they went back and shot a whole bunch of scenes with people sitting around tables and talking. So, it is what it is. So, Ving Rhames is great here. He puts a lot of emotion into his performance. It just made me really appreciate Ving as an actor, and also remember that he's one of those actors that we have not really followed through on any sort of promise of, you know, giving him the kind of work as an actor that he deserves. He's sort of like this year we're talking about Delroy Lindo for an Oscar nomination for Sinners. It's sort of like one of those actors, like a character actor that we easily could have given the right role to by now and haven't. If you look at the earlier work in Ving's career, it's great work, it's fantastic work, it's solid work. But it's easy to just look at him as like a guy with muscles and want to put him in action movies and have him punch people in the face. But he's got some really great both comedic and serious work in the earlier part of his career. I love Simon Pegg. He's great in this. Benji has some fun moments. Esai Morales is whatever. And he's not my favorite villain in the Mission Impossible movie. Palm, it's not given any dialogue. It's essentially she speaks like 3 times. And I don't know why. We heard her speak as Mantis. I know she's not mute. So I don't even think Degas speaks. Tarzan, I don't think he speaks at all. Maybe he does. Does he speak? I can't remember. He might have spoken in one scene, but they're like the silent killer duo. Angela Bassett as president is just a great idea inherently, so I support that. Just a badass role for her. She's good at it. Nick Offerman is in here for like 2 scenes, and he makes more impact than some of the people who are in it for more. Yeah, the rest of the cast is just, they're smaller roles. Hayley Atwell, you know, she just came in at the wrong time. This franchise has had a history of having some excellent women to act opposite Tom Cruise, and notably Rebecca Ferguson. Hayley is not Rebecca. It just isn't. Her character can't get the emotional connection with Ethan in the amount of time required. So because she was basically only in this 1-2-parter film, there's no real emotional payoff at the end, which is why it would have been cool to see Michelle Monaghan show up at the end, even if they don't end up together, because there's nothing really there for him and Hayley Atwell. They haven't known each other for very long. This is one long mission that they've been doing, and they've only known each other during this mission. So, no, there's no Michelle Monaghan, by the way. There's no no Rebecca Ferguson, nothing like that. So it's just all up to Hayley Atwell, and they don't push it either. So it's not like this movie ends with like a big kiss between Ethan and Hayley's character's name, I forget. So they also don't push that, which is a smart move. I like Christopher McQuarrie. I've loved him since actually The Way of the Gun. He directed that a long time ago. It's this kind of cool ensemble crime movie with a kind of insanely great cast. When you look at it, it's got like Ryan Philippe, James Caan, Taye Diggs. I'm forgetting the other people, but it's got a pretty solid cast to it. It didn't really do anything at the box office. But I think he has the stuff. But this film, I think the pressure was too high to land perfectly. So it's a bit of a bumpy landing. But ultimately, yeah, I'm fresh. I think that there's enough entertainment to be had here. You'll just feel like it's long. You will feel the length of this movie. Anyone who says otherwise is lying to you. It's impossible to sit through that much exposition and not feel the length of the movie. It's literally impossible. It's so close to 3 hours that it's like you could have chopped that. You'll feel the length of this review and you'll be like, wow, this review is long. This review is not even close to the exposition of Mission Impossible. Audio description is done by Icon Group. It's okay, so it's got some pros and cons. The action sequences are done well, but it can't figure out, there's a mechanic that the film uses where it jumps between conversations, and it can't figure out how to do that and how to how to follow that conversation of like, where are we in the, because there are some conversations where Ethan will be explaining it and talking over it with somebody else, and you'll see that he was having that same conversation with his group earlier. I picked up on it. Watch a lot of fucking movies, and I've seen this franchise 1,000 times. I have reviews for all of the movies up on my channel. I think most people will pick up on it. It's a little discombobulating, and the audio description just doesn't address it at all. So it just goes blank. And granted, it is a lot of dialogue, and it couldn't figure out how to do that. I also thought it was funny that there are visual cues that happen that I think Icon, which is seemingly like fairly new to the game, even the guy who did this, I don't remember his name because I feel like I've never heard of him before. The problem is if you don't have the experience, you don't know how to creatively right back into something. So like even when Ethan's watching the tape at the beginning, Bassett is saying something to him and she's like, your mission is this guy. Which guy? What picture of who? There's also there was a time where I thought the audio description pissed me off, where it was like, we see a familiar face, and I was like, of who? The blind audience should not have to go to IMDb for this. So yeah, I didn't. There were just choices that they were making that I think are just rookie decisions. But the action sequences are cool. They're fine. Like when he's actually doing the stunts finally, when we actually get to them. And that's what you really want, right? You want to know what this grand submarine stunt is that we've been talking about for an hour. You want to know how that pulls off. And then the prop plane where he's fighting with Esai Morales. You want to know what that's like, because that's, high stakes. So ultimately, those are done really well. But other parts of the movie are not. If if I was sitting here thinking about like what am I hiring Icon for? I mean, I'd be comfortable hiring them for action movies with little dialogue, but I would not hire them for something with dialogue because they can't figure out how to interject or how to bring up anything either before or after. The thing is that sometimes you'll get dialogue in and around. You'll get these little breaks where somebody pauses for a few seconds, and maybe your audio description is referring to something that's about to happen or just happened, but it's understanding that there's a visual cue that will make no sense if we never mention it. And they try to figure out a way of getting that in there. Otherwise, we just breeze past it, and then it's just like well, I don't know, hope that wasn't important, you know? So, not my favorite audio description track of the year, not my favorite Mission Impossible audio description track, but not the worst of the year either. I mean, I've definitely heard worse audio description tracks. It's just, there's some greatness, but there's also some weakness within it. So, Final Reckoning is not necessarily going out on a bang like they want to, but I don't think a lot of these franchises are going to go out on the bang that they want to. Vin Diesel's been sitting on that final Fast and Furious film for a while, and I think he knows the last film wasn't great, and now he's sitting on the last film of the franchise, and he's not sure how to finish out his series that he has boasted, you know, is coming to a close. So, do I think Fast 11 is going to be the best? No, I don't. Final Reckoning had the unfortunate task of having to close out Dead Reckoning, which was not the strongest Mission Impossible film. I think this series peaked with Fallout. So, that's it. That's what I got. Yeah, Fallout's my favorite film of the franchise. So, but I like Final Reckoning more than Mission Impossible 2, which I would say is my least favorite film of the franchise. So, I think the stunts are more interesting here. So, and plus Simon Pegg doesn't come in until the third film. So, even though I have Ving Rhames, I don't have Simon Pegg. So, yeah, that's another reason. Anyway, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. I'm going to give it a 7.4 out of 10 fresh. But yeah, I would put probably the rest of the franchise above this except Mission Impossible 2. So, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.